Hey, what's going on? Dr. Jim here, and we are live on the set of ptinstantly.com. And I came up with what I think is a pretty cool idea. What I want to do is I want to come out with a new video series that is going to be called, common errors. It's kind of a lame title, but I'll come up with something that sounds a little bit more catchy that here in the near future. But anyway, what I want to do is I want to deliver value in the form of showing you the remedies of some of the most common errors that I see when physical therapy exercises are done in the clinic. So, it's learning new exercises is tough. What we do in physical therapy is we attempt to isolate a weak muscle group. And our bodies are slick, man. Our bodies want to do everything possible in order to get around using muscles that are weak. That's how the muscle got weak in the first place. So, compensatory movement patterns, happen when a muscle or maybe something hurts. And the body starts using other muscles in an attempt to avoid pain. I mean, we're wired to seek pleasure and to avoid pain. And in avoiding pain, we tend to use other muscle groups that we really shouldn't necessarily be using, or at least using that much. And we build strength in certain areas, and we have weakness in other areas, and that throws our body into asymmetries, and it causes pain and dysfunction and all these other stuff. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you, I'm going to start off with the rotator cuff, because and by the way, if you don't know what the rotator cuff is, the rotator cuff is a group of 4 small muscles that basically surround the shoulder that are really super important in doing a couple key actions. Number 1, the rotator cuff initiates motion. So when you go to reach for your coffee mug, when you go to push the radio on the button on the radio on the car, when you go to do these seemingly insignificant things, the rotator cuff is quite active. Like think if you work in the office and you're using your mouse or moving your hands on a keyboard, but your arms aren't supported on something. All these little movements are rotator cuff intensive. So the rotator cuff initiates movement. The other thing that the rotator cuff does is it stabilizes your arm when it's out in space. So if you're reaching out to grab something, really the weight is really irrelevant. If you go to reach for a pencil, or if you go to lift, something that's a heavier weight, the rotator cuff is really active. The third thing that it does is the rotator cuff decelerates. And so I always thought, like, what do you mean decelerates? Well, the easy example is if you're throwing a ball, and you're basically your rotator cuff helps to decelerate your arms, so your arm doesn't like fly off your body. But the other example I like to use, the more common daily activity where the rotator cuff is really active, is when you're lowering something from an elevated position. So say, for instance, you're going to grab a bowl or a plate or a platter or something from like the top shelf in a cupboard, and you go to lower that plate down. That controlled lowering is really dependent on the rotator cuff. So if your rotator cuff is shot, if you've got a really bad tendonitis or possibly a rotator cuff tear, you're not going to feel like you're going to be able to control that lowering, or it's going to hurt a lot when you're trying to bring that item down from an elevated position. So that really, in a nutshell, is kind of the nuts and bolts of the rotator cuff. Now, a very common exercise that we use to treat the rotator cuff is called internal and external rotation. So again, basically, you've got a couple rotator cuff muscles that attach in the backside of your shoulder blade and come around the side of your shoulder and attach right on the outside part of your shoulder. You got one that kind of sits on the top part of your shoulder, and it goes through a little small space called the subacromial space, and it spits out the other side and attaches on the same bony prominence like the first 2 did. And then your fourth one is kind of on the front side of your shoulder blade, so it's like deep. It's like underneath your pec muscle, your big, your chest muscle, and it basically traverses across the front and it wraps around the front. And those 4 muscles create a tendinous cuff around your shoulder that helps you to do all those things that I just mentioned. Okay, so the way that we train those muscles is we use a really, really light load. So that's why things like TheraBand work really nice, because you don't need a lot of resistance to train the rotator cuff. What the rotator cuff likes is high repetition, low resistance, and you really want to fatigue it out. So again, the exercise that you use is called internal and external rotation. I mean, those are 2 of many that you can use for the rotator cuff, but those are 2 very commonly prescribed exercises for the rotator cuff. Now, here are a couple common goof ups, things that people will do to try to compensate for a weak rotator cuff even when they're doing the exercise. So let's say, for example, this band is tied over and attached over to my left here, okay? And then what you want to do with your arm is you want to basically have your arm next to your body, okay? And sometimes what helps is taking a little towel roll. Now, this is a little too fat, but just for demonstration purposes, you want to stick something between your elbow and your body to kind of lock your arm in place. Because one of the first common errors that people do is they let their elbow kind of come off their body when they do the exercise. So the movement pattern looks like this. Your elbow's next to your side, your arm's next to your side, your elbow's bent to a 90-degree bend. Okay, so start from a side view, kind of 90-degree bend. And then with one part of the TheraBand attached over here to the left, I'm going to take my hand from the front of my stomach and I'm going to rotate my hand out as far as I feel comfortable. And then I'm going to control it back in. Okay. And that in essence is the basics of what's called external rotation. Now, the common errors is number one, people will start to let their elbow pop off of their body. That's where having a towel roll or a newspaper or something up in your armpit when you do it, you know, if you drop the towel roll, or if you drop the newspaper or magazine or whatever you got stuck in there, you know, your elbow's coming off your body. So that's one way to kind of keep that elbow next to your side. Now, the second most common error that I see is people start doing all this funny stuff with their elbow. So it looks like this. It almost ends up being like an elbow exercise. So from this view, you can see how I'm kind of straightening my arm, right? People think that they're doing this, but they actually are doing that, okay? And they're like, wow, look at how hard I'm working my rotator cuff. And really what they're working is their tricep, okay? The muscle back here that extends their elbow. So you want to make sure you maintain that 90-degree bend in the elbow. And if anything, I have patients bias their bend a little bit higher and actually produce a target that's a little bit higher up here. So it looks like that, okay? It could be tied over here, excuse me. So it looks like that. Now, number one, you got to keep your body, your upper arm next to your body. Number two, you got to maintain the elbow bend to 90 degrees, maybe bias it a little higher and have a target that's slightly higher than your hand so that if you're going to bias anyway, you're going to bias towards a bend and not just straightening your arm all day, okay? Now, the third thing is that, and this happens when the weight is too much, is patients start to shrug, okay? So what you want to do with your shoulder blade is you want to set your shoulder blade, which means you want to take your shoulder blade and you want to set it down and back, okay? Down and back with your shoulder blade and lock it in place. Elbows bent to 90 degrees. You're going to start in front of your stomach and you're going to rotate it out without shrugging. You're going to go as far as you feel comfortable, but you don't want to cause a pinch in your shoulder and you want to bring it back in. Now notice I'm not doing this, right? I'm not letting the band like whip me back in. It's a controlled concentric movement this way, and then it's a controlled eccentric movement going back the other way. You do not want momentum to occur because momentum is where people get hurt, okay? So let's see. So I think I hit all the major ones because I slid in there that you want to make sure that you control it out and in. And then again, you want to go through a range of motion that is comfortable. If you see yourself ever, and doing these exercises, by the way, in front of a mirror is a really good tip. It's not being vain. It's so for you to have a visual input into what you're doing. Because I tell you what, you're not going to feel it. Your body is really good at hiding the fact that you're doing this crazy stuff, you know, or you're doing, you know, you're moving like your entire upper body. It's like your upper body stationary, your shoulder is set, your elbow's bent to 90. You slowly control the movement out. You slowly control the movement back in, and you do it on, you know, and you do it until you get a little burn. You know, remember when they say in the gym, feel the burn. You're gonna feel the burn a little bit. You're gonna feel your arm kind of warm up, like kind of through here. As long as you're not feeling like sharp shooting pains, the little bit of a burn is okay. It's like you're fatiguing the muscle. There's probably a little bit of lactic acid being produced, and you're gonna feel a little bit of that warmth. As long as you're not like ow, ow, ow every repetition, then you're going to be okay. So again, I always like to either preface or end these videos with that, you know, these videos are informational, educational purposes only. If you do have a shoulder injury, you want to make sure that it is evaluated properly by your physician and then your family physical therapist before starting this or any other exercise program. But if you've ever done external rotation exercises before, you're really going to want to make sure that you heed these tips to make sure that you're doing the exercises properly, cleanly, and so you don't risk, you know, the potential of an injury in the future. So hopefully you got some value. I enjoyed sharing with you again today, and I look forward to continuing this common error series. Hopefully you got some value, and I will see you on the next video. Take care, and God bless you.